Good morning. I'm happy to be here with Dan Medinger, who was my guest this morning at our Breakfast Bar series, and we were discussing marketing and advertising. Dan is the owner and publisher, I'm going to look at my note to get this correct, owner and publisher of Business Monthly, which has served our community for a number of years, and is also the owner and president of Advertising Media Plus. And so thank you for talking with us this morning. We had a full house this morning.
What a great room.
Oh, it was fabulous. So I just want to maybe go back to a couple of things that you talked about so I can have a little bit of a better understanding of them. And one of the mediums, I guess that's the right word, that you talked about was podcasts, and that being a popular method of communicating, marketing, advertising. Can you tell me a little bit more about the audience that reaches and why that's such a popular thing nowadays?
Sure. Well, today people are busy and they're often on the go. And so with a podcast, you can reach people literally while they're moving. They can listen to your podcast while they're jogging, while they're in the car. And so if a normal traditional is that you wouldn't want somebody reading your message while they're driving, but they can listen to your podcast. And so once you identify who that audience is that you're trying to reach, and the nice thing also about podcasts is that you can make them as short or as long. So some podcasts are very long. I listened to a series of podcasts which did the whole Roman history. It's 1,000 years.
That was long.
It was. There was a lot of mayhem there. But also then some people have podcasts that are as short as 2 minutes. And so depending on your message, depending on your audience, depending on what you're trying to achieve, you can determine the length of it. And you keep seeking that audience, and you hope that people share it with their friends, and so you kind of grow virally. And so that's a very special part of podcasting.
So is a podcast the type of thing that you would envision being a series more than a one-time sort of event?
Yes, podcasting would generally be that you as the speaker are either sharing chapters of information, or you're sharing your views on something, your expertise. A lot of times folks that would categorize themselves as thought leaders use podcasts as a way to say, here's the thoughts that I have on this category of information. Mm-hmm. For example, divorce law would be a category of information that people would want to hear some expert talking about, and that would be a very good avenue for podcasting.
Okay. I'm going to put that on my list, so thank you very much for that.
Good for you.
The other thing you talked about was about a website being sort of, let me welcome you into my world, like you're walking into my home and you're coming into a place where I want you to be impressed by what you see, and then I want to direct you to go to a particular location. And you talked about a website critical path.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What is the website critical path?
Yeah. Well, sometimes with websites and things that are digital, people get boggled up in all of the technological stuff of it. It's like, what's the programming about and all that, and we get intimidated by that because, if you don't know what HTML is, or you don't know what widgets are and all those kind of things that make up a website, you start thinking that's what it's about. And really that's not it. What it's about is that you have created a digital front door for people. That's what your website is, a digital front door where you're bringing them into your digital home. And so that could be your business, it can be your cause, it can be your school. And so once they come through that front door, which is your home page, the question is where do you want them to go? And where you want them to go is really answered by what result do you want them to have. And so if you say what I'd really like them to do is come and buy a beautiful dress, my path is going to lead them to the checkout, right? Or I want them to get engaged. I'd like them to sign up for my newsletter or sign up for my podcast. And so you try and figure out what that path is how you want to lead them through. And if you think about your website as it's your home, mm-hmm. So someone comes through your front door, where do you lead them? As I say, often we lead them to the kitchen because that's where everybody likes to congregate.
That's where everybody ends up, no matter how big the house, everybody's in the tiny kitchen, right?
Absolutely. So that's kind of how the critical path works in the websites.
So the other sort of takeaway I had from your talk this morning is that you don't have a website just for the sake of having a website. You have to figure out really what is your purpose in driving people there, and once they get there, where do you want them to go?
Yes, yes. You know, when I build websites, we build websites for people almost every week. We're finishing one. And people say, I want a website, and the second thing they say is, how much is it going to cost?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't even know what you're building. So, and more importantly, why are you building it? I mean, I can build you a website for a few $100s, or I can build one for many thousands of dollars. But the real question is, it's not how much it costs. It's like, what is it you want to do with it?
Mm-hmm.
And many times people haven't thought about that. They just say, oh, I want a website. Well, all right, what do you want to do with it? And sometimes you can make a website that only has 1 or 2 pages because that's the path, or you're going to have a very complicated path and it's going to be a very big website.
Mm-hmm.
But just saying the word website, there's many manifestations of that. And so knowing what you're trying to achieve can decide how big it should be and how much it's going to be.
My sense is that if somebody doesn't have a website, there's a perception of lack of legitimacy. You know, I've had communications with people before, and they're offering a particular service, and I get a business card, and I say, do you have a website? Because I want to know more information than what you're capable of sharing with me at that particular moment.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any legitimacy to that position that, you know, if you don't have a website, if you don't have a place I can go to get more information, that maybe you're not for real?
Right, right. Absolutely. In 2019, you have to have a website, but it also has to be a website that is a good reflection of you. Sometimes people make a website and frankly it doesn't make them look good. It's not an accurate reflection of who they are, what they want to be. It's a little bit this whole concept we used to have of dressing for success. And if you want your website to be, you want to be looking like you're a successful organization, a place that people want to deal with. One of the other challenges with websites is because they are so omnipresent, everybody's on them all the time, our standards of competition, what do you have to be like, is frankly, even if you're a small business or a huge business, your website has to have that same kind of professional quality to it. I always feel sorry for these folks that fall for that, oh, you can build a website for $99. You can, but you probably have harmed your brand by doing that because you look like you have a $99 website.
Well, I appreciate all the wisdom you shared with us today. You know, one of the reasons I asked you to speak this morning is that, you know, you have operated in just about every medium there is, from my perspective, in advertising and publishing and marketing and so forth. So I appreciate so much you sharing your wisdom with us today.
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thanks.
Thank you.